Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Draft Class Recap. My name is Craig Willahan, and today we are looking at the Los Angeles Chargers 2020 NFL Draft. Okay, let's get started. So, the Los Angeles Chargers, for a number of years, have felt like a team that has what I would consider, at least arguably, one of the more complete rosters in the league. You look at the offense, you look at the defense. They've gotten some really good draft picks in the last couple of years. Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Mike Williams. It seems to be a team that relied heavily enough on a mix of veterans and rookies that ended up progressing and hitting when it comes to building a team. It seemed like they were headed on the right direction. But unfortunately, it looks like the window has closed and the clock has struck midnight, at least for right now, as they transition into a new era, and that is without Phillip Rivers. He is now in Indianapolis. So, heading into the season, it looks like we'll have a quarterback battle between Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert. If it could even be called a battle, because it sounds like the coaching staff is already pretty set on starting Tyrod Taylor this season. They feel like they can win now with him. So, more power to you if you believe that is the case. So, for the Chargers draft, it looks like they had two targets specifically, and that was in the first round because they gave up some capital to get that second first round pick, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But as I said, it was a pretty complete roster heading into the draft. I really like the secondary, the defensive line. They traded away Russell Okung. They got Brian Bulaga to play right tackle from the Packers this year. So really, they could fill out their roster as they wished, and they were going to end up using that first pick on whichever quarterback fell to them, whether it would have been Tua or Herbert. So the player that does fall to them, round one, pick 6 overall, is Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon. Finishes his Oregon career with 820 completions, 10,541 passing yards, and 95 touchdowns. The kid slung it for a good long time at Oregon and could have been a first overall pick last year, but decided to go back for his senior season and get drafted this year. He holds several top 20 all-time career marks in the Pac-12, and finished third in the Pac-12 in passing yards last year with 3,471, and second in the Pac-12 with passing touchdowns of 32. Leading up to the draft, there was a lot of confusion or disagreements about which quarterback they were really after. Were they going to be able to get Tua? Was Justin Herbert going to go 5th overall to the Dolphins? Would they have to trade up for him? And the couple things that I caught on to, especially during Senior Bowl week, was that NFL GMs and executives were hesitant on Herbert because they viewed his leadership as something that needed to be improved. When you take a quarterback or just have a quarterback in general, they're kind of your shortstop or center fielder of the offense. They lead the team. And they were worried that he didn't show enough of that, and he was more mild-mannered than previously thought. But according to Jim Nagy, who's director of the Senior Bowl, those I don't know what you would call them, rumors or observations should be put to rest because he did pretty well, celebrated with his teammates, and had a very good Senior Bowl week. The other discrepancy I believe that people were concerned with was his accuracy. Maybe I'll do an episode of the film room with him because I didn't do one leading up to the draft. Not that series is not supposed to be about draft picks that have already been made, but it's kind of turning out to be that way. And with X number of months between now and the start of the season, we're going to be starving for content pretty soon. So that is the Justin Herbert story. Moving on, round 1, pick 23, Kenneth Murray. They took the linebacker from Oklahoma. They did not originally own this pick. They ended up surrendering a second and a third to the New England Patriots to trade back up into the spot, which is not a problem, but the only issue I have is that you did it for an off-ball linebacker. And don't get me wrong, Kenneth Murray is absolutely one of the best linebackers in this draft. He's probably the 1A to Patrick Queen. Many people had Murray above Queen or vice versa. But just to do it for a linebacker when you have the secondary that you have, where you could probably run your base defense out of nickel or dime, I mean, you're going to have to play him on the field now. I understand that he's probably that extra layer of defense in the middle for stopping the run and whatnot. But think about the division that you play in, where you have now a very loaded offensive side of the ball with the Broncos getting the receivers in the draft that they did. The Raiders got Henry Ruggs and Lynn Bodine, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So I don't know. I don't know about this pick. surrendering that much capital to trade back in for a linebacker, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about. I don't really have a really good analysis other than that I find it a little questionable. But still, Kenneth Murray is an absolutely solid player. Career 325 tackles at Oklahoma, 9.5 sacks, and 6 passes defended. Last year, he was second in the Big 12 in tackles with 69. Nice. And he finished fourth in the Big 12 in tackles for loss with 17. Moving on, with their second and third picks gone, they moved on to round 4, pick 112, Joshua Kelly, running back for UCLA. Very productive running back in 2 years at UCLA. I'm actually kind of intrigued to see how he transitions to the next level. 454 carries, 2,303 yards, 24 touchdowns at UCLA with average 5.1 yards per carry. Last year, he was fourth in the Pac-12 in rushing yards with 1,060 and finished second in the Pac-12 with rushing touchdowns of 12. Definitely solid change of pace back to Austin Eckler. Is not going to be the dynamic pass-catching backfield running back out of the backfield like Melvin Gordon was, but he'll be a nice complement to that stable of running backs that they already have, Justin Jackson included. Very good running back depth now for the Los Angeles Chargers. Moving on to the 5th round, pick 151, Joe Reed, wide receiver from Virginia. I'm very jealous of this pick. This is another wide receiver that I had my eye on for the Minnesota Vikings. Finished with 129 receptions, 1,465 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Also a kick return specialist. Last year, he was second in the ACC in receptions with 77. Fourth in the ACC with yards per catch at 18.6. If you watch the Raiders episode of this, I noted that Henry Ruggs was in the SEC at 18.7 yards per catch. So that's a significant stat when you think about how much they can stretch the field. And he was second in the ACC for his career with kickoff return yards of 3,042. So definitely somebody that can slide into the kick return role immediately for the Chargers and take that over, and will be another complement wide receiver weapon to the already pretty nice stable of weapons that either Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert will have at their disposal. Moving on, round 6, pick 186, confession time. Sometimes I forget to look up the pronunciation guide for some of these players, so please understand that that happens sometimes. Also, sometimes I do look them up and I still forget, and old habits tend to die hard. So if I mispronounce somebody, I apologize in advance. I think this is going to be pronounced Aloha Gillman, safety from Notre Dame, and obviously you can correct me, you just don't have to be obnoxious about it. But for Gillman, 244 tackles, 3 interceptions, 12 passes defended at Notre Dame. He was a Navy transfer. Number 1 in the FBS Independents and forced fumbles at 3 for the 2019 season. Obviously, a good secondary gets better. I will always say that even if you have solid players at a position, drafting another solid piece to that position is making something that you already have pretty strong and giving it more strength. I don't think that's a bad draft strategy whatsoever. Last pick, round 7, pick 222, KJ Hill, wide receiver from Ohio State. How did KJ Hill last this long? I mean, this is absurd. He should not have been the 222nd pick in the NFL draft. That is bananas, but 201 receptions, 2,332 yards, 20 touchdowns for his career at Ohio State. 4th in the Big Ten last year in receiving touchdowns with 10, and 15th in the Big Ten for career total of receptions of 201. So that his 201 career receptions lands him 15th all time for Big Ten receptions. Like I said, I don't know how he fell this far. This is a gift. You're absolutely just making this offense better by allowing this to happen. Maybe there's some underlying medical report that I'm not aware of, or some sort of off-the-field problem that I'm not aware of. And if that's the case, everybody missed it. But to get him at 220 in the draft is pretty legit. That's a gift. So overall, the Los Angeles Chargers NFL Draft 2020 class is going to be pretty, it's pretty solid. If you take away the trade value that they gave up to go get Kenneth Murray, it's not a bad draft at all. I just really wish they still had that 2nd and 3rd round pick so they could take a few more swings of the bat at the draft. But the players that they got, I really do like. I do like Justin Herbert. I liked him coming out of college last year. Didn't have a problem with him going back for a senior season in Oregon. I do like Kenneth Murray. Joshua Kelly and Joe Reed are very intriguing players. Gillman adds more strength to a position that's already pretty strong, and you get an absolute steal in KJ Hill at 220 overall. So I'm pretty happy with this draft. I just have some hesitations about the value of it. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.